Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. Now, Robert Palmer is, I suppose, today best remembered for his iconic mid-80s videos, which featured these women all dressed alike while he sung. But he is much more than a sort of video pioneer. In fact, he really is someone who created his own style of singing in a genre that you could sort of call soul rock pop fusion. It was rock in that it was marketed to rock audiences and at times did have a very rocky edge. It was soulful because that was his intonation, that was his proclivity, and in many ways, that was sort of his choice of song. And it was altogether very innovative. It was very unique. It was sort of crooning but rocky. It was soulful yet poppy. Really interesting stuff. And he burst on the scene with one of his best albums in '74, Sneaking Sally Through the Alley, has a great cover of Sailing Shoes. Of course, the title track is beloved by everyone, and his cover of the famous song From a Whisper to a Scream, absolutely wonderful. Pressure Drop, his second album, follows along the same vein, as does his third album, Some People Can Do What They Like, Spanish Moon. What a track off of that album. Bad Case of Loving You, Doctor Doctor, a big hit of his from '79. He also, around that time, I think just before, did a great cover of Todd Rundgren's Can We Still Be Friends, an absolute wonderful song. And it was sort of by the mid '80s where he kind of became larger than life. His music was as good as ever, but the album Riptide from 1985 had some videos associated with it, namely the video for Addicted to Love, the first video featuring the women all dressed alike, and that set a trend going. Then he followed that up with Simply Irresistible from the Heavy Nova album in 1988, and he had become a household name. He was someone who, even though you wouldn't immediately think of him as a made for MTV singer, he became one, and that really helped to elevate his profile. Now, he also in 1985 indulged in his rock side by forming a band that I would call the quintessential '80s rock band because it combines so many things that we associate with it. It had the powerful drumming of Tony Thompson, really, really great stuff. And it was produced in that traditional, by that time, traditional '80s style. You could call it novel '80s style because at the beginning of the '80s, it sure was that heavy gated reverb where the drums just sound absolutely massive. It had Tony, did I say I said Tony Thompson is the drummer? I don't know what I said. Really famous session guy, worked with Chic, but on this album he's playing sort of funky drums but rocky at the same time with that great '80s production. And you also had two members of Duran Duran on the album. Can't get much more '80s than that. You had Andy Taylor on guitar doing his very '80s guitar, where the guitar sounded a bit synthetic. That was a huge part of '80s production. I did a whole video on that. And of course, also from Duran Duran, John Taylor on bass, slapping the hell out of that thing as you did in the '80s. And Robert Palmer's vocals showed that whether he's doing his laid back soul or his really high energy rock, because the Power Station was a super high energy album, he could carry a tune so well. And he's one of these people that died young, died in 2003, but he left a great legacy of music that's unique and accessible at the same time. He really had it all. A true one off, a true legend, and a nice guy, I've been told. As always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.